didn't you tell us you were near Westview?
What are you talking about, Callum?
Oh yeah, didn't you send us a photo of how you were at like a Westview high school?
I've never been to Westview. I have no involvement in Westview. I'm not Mephisto. I'm not. I'm not. I'm not.
Right, Mephisto. We're gonna
Right.
target
And
you.
can I ask you something? Why did you give me this like raven necklace?
No,
It looks
no
like
reason. No reason. Why are you questioning everything I do? I'm your friend. I give you gifts.
I mean, it's a pretty necklace. I'm not gonna lie. It's actually pretty. I like it, but
This shows us to question everything, including our friendship. Mephisto?
but I thought friendship was magic.
Yeah, it is magic. Speaking of magic, hold on to that necklace for a little bit, just in case. Just in case. Just hold on to that.
Okay.
Just
Hold
keep
on
on.
to it.
You know, it's not gonna do anything. It's just a necklace. It's definitely not mind control magic powers.
Wait, what?
Nothing. Anyways, what the fuck are we talking about?
WandaVision, this episode, you know how it kind of started off like some type of hocus pocus. Which does anyone else like? I got hocus pocus vibes from watching this episode, and literally the backstory of Agatha, since you know Agatha Harkness, Agnes, whatever. I know I was saying I was right and everything last week, yay! But now, if you guys look closely, it says Salem, Massachusetts.
I noticed.
1693, and like the first 10 minutes of Hocus Pocus took place in 1693.
Well, here's the thing, and this is why those two things correlate. That's actually when the Salem witch trials happened.
Yes.
Like the real life Salem witch trials.
That's true, but I was like, does Agatha know the Sanderson sisters? Is that how she got her the dark magic? Did Winifred teach her something? Or I don't know.
They dress similar.
Yeah, they do dress similar. I love her outfit though, but
Look, I'm about to say something, and I'm gonna say this, and then we're just gonna sort of have to deal with it as we go. I think this episode might be one of the best things Marvel has ever made, ever.
Development.
This episode hurt me. It hurt me a lot, and
it was a very emotional episode.
I really fell in love with this episode. It hurt. Essentially, I was telling this to some friends on stream because right after I watched the episode, I jumped in to my friend Elvish's stream, and my immediate response was, this episode broke me in the first 10 minutes, and then it just kept hitting me. It kept hurting me after I was broken. And I loved it. It was so dark and wonderful, and just I love these characters, and I love this world.
Alright, so for everyone knows, this is the episode where we don't get all the answers, but we get some major revelations, mainly revolving around Wanda's past and what motivated her to initiate this whole Westview illusion in the first place.
Indeed, and also like we get her origin story, which I gotta be real, I was just sitting there thinking in my head, please, dear God, when you do the Hawkeye show, do this. Show the origin, talk about the character's past, do this. Don't focus on the new. You can focus on the new stuff, but don't let that be the only thing. Because now that we know, like, Wanda is the one who saved her brother, and just seeing her watching those sitcoms, I almost cried during that one scene. But you were saying, Callum?
We get the origin stories of two witches, and it's heartbreaking. And if the Marvel Cinematic Universe is going forward, this might be the best way to approach origin stories from now on, because a lot of people are sick and tired of the hero rising up. We see their origins and everything. Been there, done that. But here we get the origin story, like not even in the movies. It's just like almost near this finale of a television show. How about that?
When I was pitching, when I did my my Marvel fatigue video, I mentioned once again, just to call back to Hawkeye, I mentioned that when he appeared in Thor, he just sort of pointed his bow at him and then left, and that was his introduction. And I mentioned, wouldn't it be cool if there was like a show or like a mini series you could watch that would give you the backstory of this character? And that seems to be what they did with WandaVision. They took Wanda, and you could have known her, like, you knew all you needed to from the movies. We didn't need this backstory. But now that we have it, I'm just so glad we do, because it was so well constructed, and they even called back to little things I didn't think they would. I can't wait to jump into it.
My. Also, before we do, did you just say to us that you were anticipating a Hawkeye spin-off since you first saw Hawkeye in the Thor movie, even before any official big crossovers?
I've been wanting a Hawkeye movie since before Iron Man came out.
Okay, fair enough. Power to you. So throughout this episode, there's been references left and right. We started off, oddly enough, with the origin story of the supposed main villain now. Agatha was going through the witch trials, and it's implied that she was delving into darker arts. And
there's actually a line that I like, and I just really thought of this. Callum, you can join it. You can join it if you want to. Because the mother was like, because Agatha was like, I did no such thing. I swear, deception, disgrace. Evil is seen with the smirk on her face.
She is
not one of us.
You people are despicable.
Evil is seen with a smirk on her face.
But long story short, Agatha's all like, I got magical dark powers now. And here's the thing. Here's the thing. After this episode, if Mephisto's not a thing, I'm okay with it. But where'd she get those dark powers? Like, she references...
Maybe she got him from the Sanderson sisters. I'm just kidding, no.
But they get them. And they acknowledge the existence of Satan in that movie, so clearly Mephisto exists.
So basically, Agatha is tied to a stake. She claims not to have done something, but it's obvious that as she's being tortured by witch powers through the witch cult, she then harnesses their life energy to the point where they grow old, a la Indiana Jones' Last Crusade style, and die.
Or freaking Huntsman with Charlize Theron as like the evil queen.
You know what I noticed about that, by the way? That's what happened in the commercial. That's what happened in the Yo Magic commercial. This, like...
Oh, of course!
With the shark comes in, hey, here's Yo Magic. And then, like, the kid withers up and dies.
You know, it's funny you mentioned the commercials. You probably noticed this too, but when Wanda encountered the Dud Stark bomb, I noticed the red flashing light, the same one that we saw in the first commercial of the first episode.
It was the toaster.
A toaster.
A
toaster.
Yeah,
it was a toaster, all right. It was going to toast them real good. A Dud toaster.
I'll talk about that more in a second when we get to that part, but just to finish the recap, here's a little backstory. Agatha kills everybody, and did you guys notice in the scene? I don't know, there was fire there, so maybe that played a part in this, but I couldn't help but notice in the background, as Agatha's using her purple magic, there's like orange sparks flying everywhere too, and I didn't know if that was the fire, but... I don't know. I saw like an orangish, blackish sort of energy. Was that Mephisto? Was that shit fucking Mephisto? Just giving her some power to suck up all the other magic? Is that fucking Mephisto?
Either way, they're using evil magic, so...
I just want to know if he exists, man.
Oh, he does.
Yeah,
Peter.
so
How else do you get in the cage as Ghost Rider?
Agatha sucks out all the magic from her coven, including her mother, and takes her mother's brooch. Then flash forward, she's trying to figure out what Wanda did, and she needs to like dig into the past of Wanda, so we get flashbacks to the day her parents died, the day she interacted with the Mind Stone, the first time she ever like had a romantic conversation with Vision, and her going to visit Vision's dead body, and then in turn her eventually creating the Hex. And the very last scene is Wanda running out to see Agatha like holding her kids hostage, and Agatha finally drops the word I've been dropping this entire review: chaos magic. They confirm that Wanda has chaos magic, and then she's like, "You are the Scarlet Witch."
Dun dun dun.
Also, there's an after credit scene with White Vision, who is also from the comics.
Dun dun dun.
Would you care to enlighten us about White Vision for a moment, please?
So essentially, it's kind of hard to describe. Vision like needed to hack something in order to like freaking save the world, and then he was like, "Well, I can't do this unless I literally plug myself into it." So Vision goes into this computer or something, and essentially part of him gets stuck there. So when he comes back, he's still Vision, but he turns completely white, and his personality is gone. He doesn't have a... He's a robot.
Michael Jackson?
No! Michael Jackson motion? What the fuck is wrong with you, Callum?
He's a smooth criminal.
What is the correlation? Oh, because they both wear white.
They're both smooth criminals.
I could be like, oh, he's the White Ranger. Oh, he's a snowman.
Do you want to build a snowman?
Such a random joke.
Do you want to build a vision?
Sorry, that was just too perfect a joke.
It wasn't perfect. It was dumb.
We're all laughing at it.
I am not laughing at it. I am cringing.
You're laughing.
Laughter here, sir.
Your laughter's contagious, Callum.
Not to me. I refuse to catch his viruses. But, I lost my train of thought, you asshole.
Yo, gabba gabba.
In the last episode. So that's the full recap. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna say something I never thought I would say about this show ever. I think we might have a happy ending at the end of this.
Ooh.
Like, we've all been talking about, like, oh, there's gonna be this tearful goodbye with Wanda and Vision. Vision's body is up and moving. I think what Wanda's gonna do is use her magic to put Vision's soul, like the soul of Vision in Westview, into that body, and he's gonna be back.
A soul copy. Ah.
Well, essentially what it looked like she did was, like, you remember, like, the Mind Stone enhanced her powers. It looks like she, like, did the opposite of what she did in Infinity War when she destroyed the Mind Stone. It looks like she fixed it.
She
You people are quiet.
What are we talking about?
You're out of the chair.
Maybe it's because of this necklace you gave me. I don't know.
Don't worry about it.
It's cursed!
It's not cursed. It's just a necklace. It's pretty.
It's pretty!
It's pretty. That's it. So yeah, did you guys have anything specific that you liked about this episode or that caught your eye? Cal, let's start with you.
This was an episode that provided some major revelations. I still have several questions as to specifically Agatha's involvement. What I can only assume for now is that Agatha was chilling out in the town in Westview Salem, and then the magic happened, and she thought, well, the fridge is going on, and okay, might as well dibble dabble and do some mischief in the background.
Cal, did you just say Westview Salem?
Yeah.
You're a witch, Callum. You're a witch.
Witch.
Callum, honey. Salem is in Massachusetts. Westview is in New Jersey.
I haven't been to America that long.
Joe!
So, okay, Agatha, for some reason, must have traveled to Westview. I guess that the town has a thing for getting witches to move to a new home, I guess. And Agatha...
What I think it was is that she saw Wanda's magic and then she went.
Okay, and she used her magic to get past the spell and just get behind her how to use her chaos magic so that she can potentially conquer the world. My major questions mainly revolve around that and everything you've been saying about Mephisto. But apart from that, at least this gives me the emotional-based answers. Like why is she doing this? Oh, and also I question how she managed to get Vision's body, but I'll just spare the details and just focus on Wanda's character development, because this has been brilliantly well developed. We already had her development in Age of Ultron, and then we just had her as her own defining character in the rest of the movies, and they managed to expand upon her here. Again, the benefits of a television show. We get a lot in very deep with her being raised in the Cold War, how sitcoms was her way of escapism and connecting with her family, which was very sweet.
Alan, did you just say the Cold War?
Yeah?
That wasn't the Cold War, Callum.
It wasn't?
No.
I thought they mentioned the Cold War or something. What?
I am fairly sure that was not the Cold War.
A war!
Six, buddy. Are you okay? Are you being...
I think we're all off today. I feel weird, guys.
It's fine. Just keep holding the necklace.
Okay, a war in Sokovia. Forgive me.
It could be a fictional war, by the way. So that's kind of why. Like, it could just be a fictional thing. It might not even be a war. It could have just been an attack or something.
Right, but by the way the mother looked outside, I just assumed this war has been happening for some time.
You're right. It could be a war. Probably some sort of fictional one. It definitely couldn't have been World War II or anything.
I thought it was based on a real war, just based on the setting and how gritty everything was. I mean, of course, there was the whole fictional stuff with like the characters and the Stark Industries, etc., etc., etc. I also question how they are able to get access. What was that?
Sokovia in general isn't a real place. It's fictional.
Right. Anyway, they were raised there, and oh yeah, something else I kind of question. Marvel has established that it's really good with excelling technology, but how did they gain access to DVDs during that time period?
The magic.
Instead of VHS tapes.
Well, I think what it was is like, first of all, I think that proves right there that no matter what it wasn't the Cold War. Because how would they be able to watch DVDs? Like exactly.
Yeah.
Right, because there was like I Love Lucy and Bewitched and Malcolm in the Middle, which came out in like the 90s. So
I think we've been a little this whole time. You guys want to restart?
No, let's keep going. I guess we're just learning as we go along. We're not doing so well this episode.
Yeah. I think we should restart and take a breather. I think we should just restart and just go for it.
what's happening? What is going on here?
We should restart. Yeah, let's restart.
Oh my! Hocus Pocus 2 is looking great. If this is the teaser for it, she got attacked by witches. She's young now, and they're revealing Wanda's past. Yay!
Yeah, let's start.
Deception, disgrace, evil is seen with the smirk on her face.
Dude, just end the recording and we'll start again.
No, let's keep going. I insist.
No, let's just restart, man. Let's just restart.
This is great.
Is this part of the bloopers?
Yeah, make this a blooper. You can upload this on your channel. Let's restart.
Fine.
We were hi. Hello to everyone watching. We just recorded an episode and it was kind of bloopy and we weren't super in sync. So now we are restarting. Callum, how are you? Introduce yourself. How you feel?
We can jump off from where we left off. It's not too late.
No, it's too late. It's too late, Callum. You have to reset reality.
Hey, what do you guys think of this Hocus Pocus 2? Do you guys liking this Hocus Pocus 2? I think it's fabulous.
Digging the costume design.
Yeah.
If this is the teaser for Hocus Pocus 2, I must say there's interesting new characters. There's a promise of a crossover with Marvel or something. They've got the setting and costumes just right. They've upped the drama. I mean, it's getting a bit.
I was just sitting there watching Hocus Pocus, and I was like, "Yeah, this is pretty good." But you know what? It needs more robots.
Hello, Melissa. How are you?
Hello.
I feel weird because Neil gave me this necklace. I'm pretty sure he went to Westview, but I got this necklace from him. It looks really pretty.
There's no photographic evidence to prove that I was at Westview. There's none of that.
You got her a necklace?
No, of course not. I created it with evil controlling magic.
Wait, what?
Nothing. Anyways, moving on.
For me.
For
Disney Plus and your
no, I'm not Mephisto. I'm not Mephisto. You should.
Why do I feel weird?
That's just the magic sword through your blood.
Wait, what?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, you're going to be my magic assistant, and we're going to kill people.
Sawing your assistants in half. Yeah.
Well, the plan is to get people. So I am the devil. Let's just make that clear. I'm Satan.
What? Never.
What is happening? What?
Yeah. I'm Mephisto. And Cher's gonna be like my assistant. She's gonna help me. She's gonna be my Agatha Harkness.
Woo!
I will say it's pretty interesting seeing Agatha as a full-on evil role.
I like it.
I like it too, but what I'm saying it's interesting is because in the comics, she's mostly neutral.
Mm.
Mostly, not saying that she hasn't been bad, but she's mostly a neutral character. So I like it, but I just find it very interesting they went with the evil route.
Well, we just did a bunch of the episode, but then like we kind of screwed up a little here and there. So I was like, you know what? Let's just redo it. So real fast, I'm just gonna jump into the recap real quick, if that's okay, guys.
That's totally fine by me.
So it starts with a flashback of Agatha Harkness's backstory. She was like a witch in a coven, and
1693. I'm telling you, it's all tied up together with Hocus Pocus.
well, that was the same year that the Hocus Pocus stuff happened, but also like that was just the same year as the Salem witch trials. So they were just both referencing that real life event.
Also, too, in the comics, too, they did say that Agatha was one of the original witches of Salem during that time. So it actually kind of fits in the episode.
Although I am totally willing to go with you, Cher, down the conspiracy hole of like, maybe this is foreshadowing Hocus Pocus too. Moving forward, she kills them all. She sucks up their magic, which I feel like this is the explanation for what that commercial was with the shark and the yogurt kid.
Oh, yo magic. Oh yeah, like, that makes too much sense.
This is literally like the corpses falling to the ground and like withering is exactly what happens to the kid. It's literally her sucking out yo magic, like your magic.
Why do the corpses look like the Crypt Keeper from Tales from the Crypt?
I don't know, man. Maybe if we rot, we just all become the Crypt Keeper one day.
Well, if you look at like some corpses, they do have like some similarities. Like, of course, like cinema can never like fully replicate, I think, the horrors of real life, and nor do I think they should. But
isn't it true that Disney used actual skeletons for the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, or one of those rides from Disney?
Yes, most of them are removed except for I think like one or two, though, because that got out.
I've studied history, and bodies can be very well preserved through mud and all sorts of stuff like that, with like their face intact but their body going a bit decrepit. That can happen.
Yeah, the way I viewed it is she probably sucked out their life force. Like, literally, she just drained the color from their skin. She drained their like blood pumping. She drained their soul.
Yeah, pretty much like took every single essence from them. Like that's why, like, you know, when you see stuff like that, that's why like they progressively age really quick because you're literally taking the life out of them in a very rapid rate.
So it's like when Charlize Theron played Evil Queen in the Huntsman movie. I know it's not a good movie, but that's those scenes where she basically sucks the life out of young, pretty women.
Oh yeah,
essentially.
Or youth, yeah.
She chose poorly.
I do think that it's an interesting scene because she mentions like the reason she's on trial. Her mom mentions that like she dug into some dark magic.
Darker.
She learned it from the Sanderson sisters. I'm just saying. I know it's a dumb theory, but I'm just saying.
I would love
if
Winifred and like Mary on the vacuum cleaner come out, and that's like the final boss of WandaVision.
Oh my god. Being like, yeah, Hocus Pocus is now part of the MCU. Great.
Oh wait, that's where all the children went in the first few episodes.
Callum, that's actually really clever. You get it.
It's clever if it wasn't for the fact that they brought the kids back.
Oh my god.
Like, if they didn't bring the kids back, I would totally 100% be on board with it. But I'm a skeptic by nature, so I point out accuracies.
You know what's where there any kids in Westview during that one scene when Wanda goes into it before the hex?
Wanda must have rescued all the children from the Salem sisters, wanting to spare the children before they suck out their youth.
Here's the thing. A lot of people think that the kid thing has nothing to do with Wanda because there were some leaked set photos from Spider-Man 3, and there are missing kid posters everywhere. So people just think this is going to be part of the MCU. But the thing I wanted to bring up is she's delving into this darker magic. How did she get that? How did she get darker magic? We know that like
It's either I'm leaning towards the Mephisto.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. I was leaning more towards the fact of either it could be the Mephisto thing, because she blatantly says that she doesn't know, or she did not know how she got these powers, and she did criticize the Coven of being like, if you guys actually taught me, or if I had some guidance, I might not have dealt with this. So I think like it might have been like unintentional in some regard, or she did a spell, something like that. But I'm leaning towards the Mephisto theory of the fact that everything's pointing to Mephisto still. It's just how he plays into all this.
At this point, I'm going to be real. I don't know if Mephisto's the thing anymore. And he could be. He very well could be. Like, he could be the answer for why, for what's going on with Agatha. But I think if they were going to do Mephisto in this series, I think he would have had a role to play with Westview, and maybe he did, because in the scene where Agatha is like sucking everyone's magic out, there's like an orange light behind her. That could be the fire that's there. But I swear it looks like little orange sparkles of energy. So it could mean Mephisto. Similar sparks happen with Wanda, although that could just be her, like with the Mind Stone. Like we see the Mind Stone powers go yellow. I don't know, but real fast, just to finish the recap. After this flashback, Agatha, well, during the flashback actually, Agatha fights her mom and kills her and takes the brooch. And then, in modern time, Agatha needs to go through Wanda's past to figure out what happened in Westview. So we get flashbacks to the first one being the day her parents died, the second one being the day she encountered the Mind Stone, the third one being the first time she ever had a, like, loving moment with Vision, and the fourth one being the day she created Westview and the day she saw Vision's head on a table. Nothing will prepare you for seeing a robot head on a table. That happened in Power Rangers too, and that fucked me up. I find it weird that media that I like keeps putting heads on tables, specifically robot heads. Why?
The pale orc cutting off Thorin's grandfather's head off. It's haunting. It's kind of gruesome. It's gonna haunt you for the rest of your life.
It's a very dramatic vision.
Don't lose your head.
Already lost them. Come, but in the meantime, we have some emotional revelations with Wanda and her past. Even though there's still a few questions like, how was she able to form Vision? Where did she get the chaos magic from? But you get the emotions behind it. You get that she was upset and that she got so distraught she summoned the chaos magic to distort her surroundings. You get that she had a trauma with her family. She used sitcoms as a comforting thing to connect to people, and it connected her with her family as well as with her future spouse being Vision. It's the reason why she loves sitcoms and why she keeps switching between the sitcoms, and the specifically mentioned sitcoms are right there in the flashback. Malcolm in the Middle, the Dick Van Dyke Show, you name it, it's there. And Wanda's just living out that escapism, because that's kind of all she knows when you think about it. It's fairly tragic, but it's brilliant character development, if you ask me.
Yeah, I think intentionally, Kevin Feige and them left Wanda vague. Like, they never gave her a bunch of backstory. Like, they never gave her a ton of character. And I think the reasoning for that is so that now when she has her own thing, we can like learn these reveals. Like, oh, it turns out Wanda loved sitcoms. And like they were at every aspect of her life. And I gotta be real, in the first flashback, when she's just sitting and watching the sitcoms like Kid Wanda, and the missile goes off, like that whole scene really hit me. Like if you've ever been somebody who like really loves nerd culture and stuff, and like the things you love, like shows and things, can help you through grief. But as a child, Wanda in that moment says something that broke my heart in that respect. Where the TV is still playing, her parents are dead, and she just goes, you know, at the end of the episode, it's revealed that everything is a dream. Maybe this is a dream. Maybe they're still alive. And I was just sitting there, and that broke me. That hurt me so bad, and I was like, well, all right, let's keep watching this episode now that I'm mentally and physically broken. And then the episode just keeps hurting you. What was that, Cal?
Yeah, I mean, it's possible we could all be a dream, but judging by the scenario, it's not probable.
Oh, no, it's not a dream, but since she's a kid, she was like in that moment, no, my parents aren't dead. They didn't die. This is all fake, like the shows I like. And then that's the first time she ever uses her magic. And I thought this was genius. The fact that, like, no, the bomb wasn't a dud. She made it stop. And
right, but even like the older her, the present her still denied that of being like, no, it was a dud. Like you could still tell that like it was still such a traumatic event in her life that even when Agatha was just like, so you used the magic to stop the bomb, it wasn't actually a dud, and Wanda still was like, no, it was a dud. We don't know why it never went off, but it didn't. Shows in a way of being like I think we discussed it like in previous episodes, but this show definitely shows that like grief isn't just step by step, or it doesn't go away completely, or they're trying to normalize like grief, which I'm glad for because of somebody who has dealt with grief and having to deal with like horror similar to like Wanda has. Is just like, yeah, it's not normal to try brushing it off or going back to work like the next week and being like, everything's fine, everything's okay. Because it shows being like the longer you push it down and trying to like, go back to how things were, the more damaging it becomes. And I think Juan is like a perfect example of that. Also, too, it shows being like grief is not a step-by-step thing. You don't go to denial and then to, bargaining or to anger or acceptance or any of those by stages. It's literally, that's one thing I've learned in therapy, is that it's more like scribbles, it's not steps. And being like, you can retreat back to those steps whenever, even if you complete all 5 of the stages. It's just like you still have a chance of bouncing back, because it's a wound that will never go away. You dealt with like incredible loss, and the fact that she went through it not only back to back, because I was going to say, being like, yeah, that moment killed me too, because like that's what I experienced at first hugely, was the denial factor and being like, oh, I'll be just like in the shows I watch, like it's all just a bad dream and things will go back to normal. But then that's when reality hits and being like, no, it doesn't. It's not like in the cartoons, or it's not like in the sitcoms that you watch. And that can definitely like harm somebody, but also to like have them have a good moment. So that's why she clings on to sitcoms. I think that's why a lot of nerds cling on to the stuff that they do because it reminds them of the good times, but also to, at the same time, hurts at the same time.
It's kind of like with me. Like about 3 years ago, I would have lost my half brother, who I still think he's my brother, regardless of her half siblings. And then 2 months later, I lost my uncle from a traumatic brain injury at the start of my first year of college. And I know everyone sees me as, oh, it's the girl that likes Disney and very unhealthy relationship and obsession with Disney. She's just so happy all the time, blah, 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 blah. And actually, now to come to think of it, it's not that way. It's more, I'm more than just the happy-go-lucky Disney girl that sings Disney 24/7 or whatever. I know that's what people see me as, but after watching this episode, I kind of dug deeper to my psyche, and I'm not perfect. None of us are perfect. Life isn't a sitcom. Yeah, I can have Disney, to comfort me, but I'm eventually gonna have to get up, get out there. Maybe I'm not ready. I'm gonna need support, but I'm just glad to have friends and family who support my decisions. That's why when I started the nursing program, I was very concerned because I was there when my brother was dying. I spent my 18th birthday in hospice. I did everything that I could to take care of him, and yet he died 6 days later. I thought it was my fault because I could have prevented him from going down the down spiral pathway. And then my uncle, which the last time I saw him was on my 18th birthday, and now here I am about to be 21, and I've just been through a lot. So for those of you guys who just see me as this Disney person that's happy all the time, I'm not. And neither is Wanda. We've all been through something. And now that I've realized it's like emotions do play a critical part in life. You don't want to let your emotions control you. You control your emotions. Don't let them control you, because that's when I and maybe it's just me, but when I saw that part where she just unleashed her magic, that was like the straw that broke the camel's back. Her parents died, Pietro died, Vision died. She just couldn't take it anymore. She couldn't bottle up. That's why my parents, everyone kept saying, don't bottle up your emotions, because it's going to be one little thing that's going to tick you off, and boom, like explosion.
Yeah.
And I think that's what happened to Wanda here. That's just me. That's how I see it.
I totally agree with you. And something else I like about that scene you were talking about is, like, by all accounts, Wanda is still kind of dealing with her grief. Like, obviously, creating your own reality isn't necessarily healthy. But number one, she didn't mean to do it. Like, she didn't do it on purpose. And number two, I just really admire the scene where, like, Hayward is clearly antagonizing her and trying to get her to try and bring Vision back. So he literally shows Vision just in pieces. Like, he's clearly trying to get her to do something and, like, lash out, and yet she leaves and she doesn't hurt anybody there. She doesn't attack anyone.
But Hayward made it look like she took Vision when really she didn't. So who's the bad guy now?
Well, which actually brings up a. Go ahead. Sorry, I think we're like all talking for each other, but no, which actually, like, that brings up, like, since you kind of delve into your shit. So the scene with Hayward and Wanda, that one hit me more than the flashback of her as a kid, because that's what I dealt with dealing with the suicide of my significant other and people either want me to do one thing or the other, or oh, you can just go back to how you were before, or you need to handle it this way, or you need to handle it that way. And it made me so angry, but instead I shut down, similar to like what Wanda did. And actually, I was like, before, I started talking with like Neil and all that. And then, during like this past year that I've been off the street, is that I'm starting to realize of being like, no, I don't have to do what people tell me to do. Being like, it's not as simple as, changing your appearance or going outside and getting, exercise or going to get a job, or being like, no, you should be dealing with grief in your own way, and there shouldn't be a time limit on it. You should be able to do what you feel is necessary, as long as it's not harmful, then who cares? And it kind of does and that hit me on a nerve of being like, yeah, that's exactly the same shit I heard when I was dealing with it, and I'm still dealing with it. Officially been diagnosed with like PTSD and stuff. Like, I can't watch certain movies anymore because of it. But when people tell me, being like, oh, just do this and you'll feel fine, it's just like, no, you don't get it, and I don't expect anybody to. But pushing somebody to do it your way because society deemed it such is terrible. And I also too empathize with that on a level, because like I still to this day haven't received the ashes of my significant other, and the fact that he was robbing her of like giving him a proper burial and stuff, it fucking hurt. And I still have to deal with that. Like, it was by far like a really like touchy episode for me. But I also too have a theory on Hayward as an individual. I think he's possibly Mephisto.
I mean, it could be possible. Here's the thing. I don't know.
It's a long stretch, but it's just the way he spoke to her, especially like the one thing that bothered me and the one thing that clicked was when he pretty much told her, being like, oh, you have the capability of bringing him back to life and we don't want to change that. It's like, wait, she doesn't have that capability. How would you know if she had that capability? Not even like sword agents or shield agents or whoever, not even like the current heroes that are living right now know all that much about each other, at least not in that depth. So it's just like, wait, how did you know that she might have the capability of doing that? And being like, unless you're up to something. So I definitely don't trust that motherfucker.
I don't trust him either. I think what it is, though, here's the thing. I don't think he's cool enough to be Mephisto. Like, honestly, I think that the way I'm reading this is a slimy, like, just middleman. This is somebody who has been whispered in the ear. So I agree with you, though. Somebody told him Wanda could do this. The question is who? Like, how did he know? And it could be Mephisto. I think it's likely at this point that Mephisto is going to be an after credit scene and he'll actually be the villain of Loki. But I guess we'll have to see.
I mean, like I said, it's a long stretch from, like, I know that I have more chances of being wrong about that, but I know that he has some connection with either Mephisto or Agatha or both, because he knows too much and he deliberately sabotages anything that goes like against like the right thing to do.
There is a big theory out there right now that Hayward is Ultron, and apparently there's a lot of stuff to back that up. However, even if he is Ultron, I don't see how Ultron would be aware that, like, friggin' Wanda could do this. Because she had never done it before.
Right, and he didn't spend that.
Oh, my bad.
Oh, sorry. And I was also going to say, too, being like, he didn't spend enough time with Wanda and Pietro in the Ultron movie for it to even matter. Like, I knew he knew some things about them, but it wasn't it either would have not been explained really well in the movie, or if they do throw that little swing, it just wouldn't make sense, in my opinion. I guess because there's not enough backing to it.
I could see Ultron coming back, but honestly, if he was gonna come back, I would bring him back in the Vision body. Like,
yeah, I mean that's possible, but guys, here's the thing when it comes to conspiracy theories. Anything is possible, but not everything is probable.
yeah, you're right. Although stated totally pulling the strings.
Right, and also too, like, the issue with conspiracy theories too is that even if one is right, there's a million of them that are wrong.
Mhm.
And which for anyone that could be right, if possible, it's a whole long like conversation about conspiracy theories. So
Yeah,
not gonna
I mean,
divulge.
we're going to go extreme with conspiracy theories. We're going to have to say, oh my, Haley is Pepper Potts in drag, or something like that. Oh my, Haley is actually Whiplash, who's coming back to get vengeance from Iron Man 2, because that's going to get extreme. Yeah.
Who is Haley?
You're describing the guy as Haley.
Hayward.
Hayward.
Weird.
Callum,
And- today
you have been
I
out
was
of it.
sitting there wondering, being like, who the fuck is Haley?
I thought you were talking about Darcy.
I thought you heard you say Haley.
We're talking about Hayward, businessman. Who did you think Haley was?
I think you thought Haley was Hayward, and you were nicknaming Hayward as Haley.
Maybe Haley is Mephisto, whoever the fuck she is.
I was even like looking up like my repertoires of like nerd culture and being like, who's Haley in this fucking scenario? Is there a character that I don't remember named Haley? And then it's just like, oh, you mean Hayward?
Hayward.
Haley?
Okay. I don't know if you guys know me, but I have this terrible habit in conversations of dramatically mishearing some words.
Jover, you're not the only one.
I was doing the same thing, Mel. I was sitting there like, is there a Marvel character named Haley? Does
Right?
Callum know some deep shit lore that even I don't know? I mean, I was just going for everyone, and all I could come up with was, is he talking about Darcy?
I was at the point where I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna Google this shit, being like, who's Haley in the Marvel comics? And then all of a sudden I was like, you mean Hayward? I was about to use Google as the source.
I thought you were.
Haley
Callum, are you
Atwell
okay?
played Peg Carter.
Are you okay, Callum?
I wouldn't
This is
give
so-
Hayward a cute name like Haley. He doesn't deserve to have a cute little name.
Haley is a good
Haley
I would-
Hayward.
Actually, not like the name
If I
Haley.
was a guy at nickname, Callum, it would not be Haley. The fact that his name is Hayward, I would, instead of calling him Bastard, call him Bastward. That would be his name. Hey,
But anyway, so that way we're not fully sidetracked on the conversation.
Whoops.
But
I don't know about you. We got to figure out this shit with Haley. That's the key. But no, you're right. Back to the episode proper. Something I really liked about the episode, and I thought it was a cute moment, is a lot of people actually found Wanda's scene with Vision in Civil War to be a little cringy. Like, people thought it was forced when it was
Right.
like, oh, we're making Peppa Cash and we're flirting. But here, when like, assumably she hasn't been at Avengers compound that long, and Vision just walks up and is like, "Hey, I'm here. I'm a robot, and I love you." And I can totally see how these two.
it felt- right, like that's where I think in like earlier like episodes that we talked about prior, that I think that like Marvel's doing a lot of like fixing of like stuff that either wasn't like good or it was cringy. So I think like they fixed up their relationship. Because yeah, in Civil War, it did feel a bit forced and it did feel cringy and it did not feel organic. Whilst here, they fixed that problem of being like they actually had a little bit more time together and actually showing the organicness of their relationship. Also, to like jumping a little bit forward to where she encounters the Mind Stone, they set it up as perfectly of being like they were meant to be.
And
Oh,
then
sorry.
go ahead.
I'm looking
Go
at
ahead.
these scenes, and now that you've mentioned the developed relationship, I'm tempted to offer maybe fans create an extended version of Civil War where they add in that scene with Vision and Wanda together. That would add so much character development.
Well, I think that in Civil War, like, as weird as the Peppa Cash scene is, Peppa Cash, it's a funny word. It does build up that these two are friends, and Vision is trying to distract her a little, and like he just wants her to be happy. I think that like that scene is better here, and what I really love about that scene has nothing to do with Wanda at all. We get more of like Vision's character, where he's like, oh yeah, I don't know loss, but the only reason I don't is because, you know, I have nothing to lose. I have no loved ones. And that's such a like deep look into his character.
Right,
like
and
the
also,
fact that
oh, go ahead.
well, the fact that he's new and he hasn't had time to form a connection. I think in that moment, Wanda realizes, oh shit, that's what he's trying to do right now. He's trying to like make a connection, and he's trying to be my friend, and I love that.
Right, and also too, with the Civil War movie as a whole, like it was like a lot of the MCU movies. Why it's one of my least favorite is because like a lot of stuff had to be creative liberties, crunch. What?
You're going in and out like a robot.
It's probably Agatha.
I think she died.
Oh no, I just lost connection for a second. I literally did not hear share at all.
Oh,
but
you just disappeared for a second. You went in and out.
Okay, am I better now?
Yeah, that's all she was saying. That like you disappeared.
Oh, god damn it, Agatha. We'll have her battle here soon. Don't you worry.
Right. And
But no, anyways, as I was saying, is like, you know, with Civil War, it was a complicated like set, and that's why it's one of my least favorite MCU movies, because like I understand like they have to take creative liberties, like they had to do it with, you know, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, because like you can't condense like all those pages down, but at the same time, like Civil War was one of those movies that took way too much, where they had room to do stuff in the comics. So that's why I feel like, you know, with this version of their relationship, and I felt like that in the Civil War one, their shit kind of, you know, faltered on the creative liberties and the crunch time and shit like that. But I feel like, yeah, with the TV show route, they're able to not only make up for what they couldn't do in the movies, but actually give the characters like more organicness and more reason of why their relationships start to blossom.
and it's cute. The
It
way
is.
that like
Except
the way that Vision just starts laughing and then he goes, "That was funny, right?" I love him. I love him so much.
fear
And
that now White Vision Steve.
well, what
But
about
I
White Vision?
have a genuine with now White Vision being introduced into the fray, I do have a fear that it's going to be the end of Vision and Wanda's relationship.
That is what happened in the comic.
Yep. That's, you know, what I get from from that is because I know, like Neil, I know a lot about the comics, but yeah, when White Vision comes into play, that's what happens, that the relationship ends. And that bothered me in the comics because I liked them as a couple in the comics, but I love them even more now as a couple. So I'm preparing for them to be like, this is it, we're done. I'm not ready for that.
I actually fully and wholeheartedly disagree with you here. I think, Mel, I'm going to predict the one thing that we have never predicted. I think I'm going to predict the one thing we all said would not happen. I think there is going to be a happy ending to WandaVision. I think that Wanda is going to combine the two visions together. I think she is going to take this sort of spirit vision she's created in Westview, put him into this newly built Vision body, and Vision's going to be back. I think Vision's going to come back to life, and we're going to have a happy ending at the end. That Wanda did overcome her grief, and also, through that healing, was able to take a few new wins on the way. She got her kids, she got her hubby, she figured this out. Now, part of me thinks that that could, if not handled well, be a smack in the face to the show, because it kind of feels like it's building to that sad ending of, you have to let this go. But also, just given everything that's built up, it seems like it actually could be a very good ending if Wanda did get that love back. Because, number one, we all have been gone for years, but it's been like weeks for Wanda. Wanda just woke up from the blip. She just went to go get him. He hasn't been dead for seconds for him. Like, he's been gone for literal seconds. And maybe she can get that back. Plus, she's gone through this whole process. I don't know. Maybe it would be.
I think Monica Rambeau is going to be key to helping Wanda recover from her tragedy, because Monica has suffered a very similar grief herself, and we've already had a scene of her trying to bring Wanda back to reality and say, don't take your grief out on all these innocent citizens before Agatha took Scarlet Witch away.
Well, it is also possible that we could still get a sad ending and Vision has to sacrifice himself to kill White Vision. Like,
go ahead.
Well, the reason I'm like fearful of that is because I feel like Spirit Vision would possess White Vision, and then while he's like subdued because he's possessed, Vision would be like, "Destroy me now, Wanda!" And then Vision would have to die 3 times.
What, again?
That would be the 3rd time we've seen this man die.
Like, the one thing that I'm gonna, like, say is being like, I hope you're right with the happy ending thing, but because, like, so far, in my personal opinion anyway, that WandaVision has been, like, the closest to, like, referencing the old comics, that I'm preparing for the worst of being, like, at least for me, being, like, it's already predictable of being, like, just, like, that Vision, or Mind Vision's going to use with White Vision, but I'm leaning more towards the comic route of being like, well, that means the end of their relationship, which will kill me because I've always supported them as a couple, and the MCU made the shipping way better for me, but it's also been the day I've been dreading of, well, they are not together anymore. But all we can hope is that maybe it'll end on a positive note, but I'm also too a skeptic by nature and being like, I hope they don't kill him a 3rd time. That will just be like, yeah, just kick me right in the gut. Again, Marvel, just kick me right in the fucking gut. But I'm leaning more towards it's been more accurate that it might play that way.
I'm going to assume that their relationship ends kind of terribly in the comics. I'm not a comic reader myself, so you get me in
They
that.
get a divorce.
Okay, now I should note that in terms of the adaptation of the cinematic universe, the writers have been known to flip one or two expectations. Sometimes it worked, and sometimes it didn't. Sometimes they would use it for engaging stories or to give some funny twists to characters like Korg, which I loved, but other times they'll just completely ruin them. So, but for the most part, they've stuck well to the true to they stuck true to the comics. So if they are being more comic accurate, then we're going to have a dramatic uh, ending where Vision's had enough of Wanda um, handling her grief and um, taking it out on everybody, which leads to some kind of a divorce or some kind. If it's going to end with an action scene, all these heroes like Monica Rambeau and Agatha and Wanda and Vision and White Vision are all going to fight each other, as a lot of people will probably predict. Or maybe it's a combination of both. You never know. We'll just have to wait and see until next week.
Yeah. Yeah, I fully agree with you. I think that first of all, you're right. They've changed the shit out of stuff. Like not just in like other, but here alone they've changed so much. I do think there is a chance they could go the comic route where maybe Vision is upset with everything that's happened and the relationship ends, or maybe he dies. Who knows? But honestly, I do think like it goes back to what I was saying about Quicksilver. I think there's more stories you can tell with this character. And yeah, I do see like I do see the perks of killing him off. Like I do think that would really hone down the message of Wanda needed to get through her grief, and that meant she had to let go of Vision. But that's okay because in her healing process, she now has these kids. But I really like Vision, guys. He's always been my second favorite MCU character, so fingers crossed.
No, I agree 100%. Like Vision has always been in my top favorite, MCU heroes of all time. And yes, given that fair factor of being yeah, they have taken a lot of creative liberties, some for the better, some not so much. Like Civil War and That's a Hill I Will Die On, or the Hulk was not memorable or good. Actually, I know quite a bit of people that even though it's an MCU film, officially they don't really consider that canon. But then there's better ones like how Infinity War ended up turning out, or Black Panther and shit like that. But all we can just do now is speculate, and I'm hoping that Neil's right about a happy ending, or at least maybe they might twist it and being oh, since this couple's a favorite couple out of the MCU, maybe it'll go the way that, we're not expecting. But it's also too because WandaVision, my personal opinion, is the one that has taken more references from more the MCU. I still have a fear of that. It's not.
Sorry, you might have seen me giggle because something just came up in my mind. The absolute middle finger ending. Right at the climax of the finale, Wanda wakes up. Oh, it was all a dream. Sitcom laughter, credits roll.
That's not going to happen.
That would definitely be a fuck you to everybody, and that would be the start of Marvel fucking up.
Yeah, no, if that happened and it was oh, none of it happened, it was all a dream, there better be some sort of plot twist where it's or was it? Maybe she just wakes up and thinks it was a dream. Honestly, if it was a dream, then the whole episode is pointless, and I hate everything. That would ruin the show, Callum. No, I don't have kids, and Vision is still dead. Everything sucks. Bye.
And then they would be making the same mistake as they did with Star Wars and what DC has been recently doing.
You know, it is interesting to see just how much good faith these TV shows are doing, because like Mandalorian did the impossible and kind of united the Star Wars fan base again.
Mm.
At least for season 1.
Oh.
And
I think it was still the same way for season 2. I think like really the only like fight that they had with that was the actress who was controversial.
Mm.
yeah, that recent controversy.
I'm still on season 1.
Watch season 2.
Season 2's been shit.
You got a week before WandaVision. but anyway, but like
this show. We might.
But anyway, but like, yeah, like it is interesting to see that these TV shows are actually like doing really well. But of course, like, you know, as like, yeah, like why I reference like if they did that kind of ending, Callum, like they would be going on a path that I have been fearing for them for a while. Like the start of it was the MCU fatigue. I feel of being like you guys are going down a certain path, and then of course they corrected it by stopping for a while after Far From Home, not releasing any more content until like WandaVision and shit came out. So they corrected themselves by giving us space. But if they ruined WandaVision right now, then they'll be on a path that I don't feel like that they would be able to recover from.
I'm just saying, we have watched every episode of the show, every episode, and the lowest rating this show has gotten was a 7. It never went below 7. It never went lower than 5, and 5 is average, which means it never had a bad episode. Like, even if the episodes weren't like the best thing in the world, there has not been one that was bad. So if they just revealed that and smacked us in the face, that would be one of the biggest MCU blunders ever.
All of this for nothing? Really, guys?
I was calling all my friends Mephisto, and she doesn't even have chaos magic. It was a dream. But moving forward, let's talk about favorite moments and stuff we like, and any potential theories. Let's just sort of do that all at once. So, anyone who wants to speak up now, or forever hold your peace.
No, please. No.
Go ahead, Cal. Go ahead.
Start with Cher, maybe.
I haven't really been talking.
You can go first, Callum.
Certain details I liked. I mean, we've already mentioned on the flashbacks. I liked part of me liked Agatha's role in looking the flashback. She's observing it, soaking it in. She's obviously trying to find out the secrets of the chaos magic, but in her sort of camp's villain way, she's taking her to places she doesn't want to go. And one transition I thought was really clever, and it kind of brought me back to my theatrical days in a wee bit, where she says to Wanda in her flashback, Wanda, that's your cue. Go. And then she relives her child self again. And that brought me back to a time when I had to put on a theatrical production of Christmas Carol. I played the lead role of Scrooge, and a friend of mine was being a younger Scrooge. Unfortunately, my friend got ill, so I literally had to memorize the younger Scrooge lines. So we made it so that during the Ghost of Christmas Past flashbacks, I would transition from old Scrooge to young Scrooge. Yes, even child Scrooge, to get into the flashbacks and all that. So I thought that was quite interesting parallel. It just made me think about that sort of thing with the whole Q thing. I also liked how Marvel is literally showing their studio when Agatha was on a seat in the distance at the end of the show and was going, bravo! Before revealing that she's got the children hostage. Oh.
I have a question, and since we're talking about theories, I think this is the time to do it. I've had this question for a while. Didn't really need to ask it, but I'm asking it now. What the fuck is going on with that rabbit? That rabbit ate a bird. What's going on with that rabbit?
It was a fly.
Well,
It was made to look like a bird.
It was a fly that got turned into a bird, and while being a bird, the rabbit ate it.
no, if you look closely, it transformed back into a fly while it was consuming it.
Did
But
it?
yeah, it did. If you go back and see it, you'll see it like it already transformed by the time the rabbit started eating it. But I know the rabbit in the comic books is, is pretty much a familiar, I believe, if I'm remembering the comics
Well,
right.
In the comics, there is no rabbit. In the comics, it's a cat.
Oh,
and
that's
its name-
right. That's right. It's a cat.
So, what if she's transformed her rabbit into a cat?
Well, it
I
is
mean,
possible.
cat into a rabbit. Sorry, cat into a rabbit. Sorry.
Yeah, it is possible that that's Ebony. However, there is one correlation to the comics and that fucking rabbit, and I believe Cher brought it up last episode. In the comics, Agatha has a kid, and his name is Nicholas Scratch, and the rabbit's name is Mr. Scratchy.
Oh yeah, Senior Scratchy. Mhm.
Now-
Funny.
Now,
Weird.
I'm not saying that rabbit is a dude, but I am saying that rabbit's not a rabbit. That rabbit
Right.
is something.
Maybe some type of demon-esque character beast thing.
Love it if that rabbit jumps away at the end of the show. Like, let's say it does get the happy ending, and like the ending is WandaVision and her family sit down to watch a sitcom, and then it like pans out from a house, and you see that rabbit on the street. It just jumps about, and then it metamorphs into like a devil creature, and that's Mephisto.
That would
I want
be
that rabbit to be Mephisto.
That would be
that
cool.
would be interesting, and it would tie things together. I totally forgot it was a cat and not a rabbit, though, in the comics. That was something I did space. But
They're both animals.
well, yeah, but also to being like, damn it, you know that's like her signature fucking pet was a cat, not a rabbit. But anyway, back to like Callum's stuff, and since we're theorizing and shit, like that's why like I personally believe that like I think that whatever his name will be Douche from now on because he doesn't get a name.
Ah!
I'm gonna call him Hans, and I hope one
You
of the
mean
characters
Haley?
punches him in the face.
Oh yeah, that's right, Haley, because there was some. I wouldn't even call him Haley. He doesn't deserve that name.
Mr. Haley Word?
Haley Word. Haley Word.
Okay,
But that's why
yes.
I personally think he's more involved than him just being like the stereotypical like military dude who makes a mockery of the military because he knows everything. I know he's more than that now, or at least he's up to something, or he's in on it. He has to be in on it.
Well, I think you're completely right, because here's the thing. Who fucking put that paper in Wanda's car? It wasn't Agatha. Because Agatha didn't know that Wanda had all this magic until she made the hex. So Agatha didn't do it. So who did?
Oh yeah, and I think it was him because he knew way too much that that he played on to be. Like at first he was played as very arrogant and like how a lot of films portray military figures, I've noticed, fictional or not, they play them as these like hot-headed, I know everything because I'm military and we do it my way, and like total toxic masculinity off the ass.
They do it a lot with male authority figures as well.
Right, and it's the stereotype that it's just like, sure, but it's also one that's been beaten to death. But he first plays that, but then when he drops that bomb of being like, well, I'm afraid that you'll bring him back to life, it's just like, oh, so you were playing dumb. Like, the fact that he didn't side with, like, Monica or Darcy or Jimmy Woo and playing stupid at being like, well, how do you know that she won't do this or we do it my way? And then he drops that bomb and being like, so you knew that they were right. You just have something up your sleeve and you want it to go wrong or you want it to go in your favor.
He also lied to them. He lied to them and his troops. He said Wanda stole the body. They still have it.
Right.
Yep.
That's what I'm saying.
He's a liar. You know, I'm beginning to think if this man is Mephisto, he probably maybe put in some kind of a deal slip of some kind with Wanda to go to Westview to where all your wildest dreams come true. What do you say? We got a deal? And then she'll travel to that destination, and then boom, that we saw.
No, I'm saying it's still a long stretch of him being Mephisto. Like, that's just, an idea, and it's a long stretch, but I think he might be in on it with Mephisto or with somebody who's going to be revealed soon. Because I know one of the hottest takes right now is we still haven't seen the special guest yet that they've been hyping up. So if he's not Mephisto, he's in alliance to who possibly might be the huge special guest, and which the top two contenders I have been seeing, or at least the only ones that make sense villain-wise, is either Mephisto or Magneto. They're the only two that would make any type of sense right now with like what's going on. Like, no other villain would be involved right now otherwise. So even if he's not Mephisto, because I am saying that is a long stretch, but he does know more, and I think he's in on what's going on. That's at least the role I'm giving Harborn is that of being like, he deliberately lied to everybody about Vision's body. He pretended to not know everything or deliberately sabotage when he knew that if he was a good guy, that what Monica and Darcy and Jimmy were saying were correct. And also to drop that little bomb of being like, oh yeah, I would be afraid that you would resurrect him, and being like, how do you know she has the possible capabilities of doing that when she nor anybody else knows about that capability?
Not to mention that slip. That couldn't have come out of nothing. Everything's got a cause. That slip's no exception. So where did the slip come from?
I know. Someone had to put that slip in her car. But here's the thing. I'm about to get Cher's final thoughts. But first, I know there are some people in the comments who have been like, Neil, what is that leaked scene you were talking about? And here's the thing. I'm still not going to say what it was because, it's a leaked scene. I don't like to, give support to leaking footage. But I will say it wasn't in this episode. So it has to be in the next one.
Hang on, wait a second, Neil. I'm not wanting you to spoil anything, but you know who the special guest is, right?
I know who one of the special guests are.
Oh, there's more?
There's more than one now. Okay.
There might be more than one. I know for a fact that there is one character who, and I'm going to go ahead and say it's not Magneto, it's not Mephisto.
Oh,
How do I phrase this? There is a character who has been in a Marvel movie before who shows up in the next episode.
Okay.
I know who it is.
Okay. Is it villain or hero?
I refuse to say. I don't want to say anything.
Nor deny.
Well, I don't want to say anything. Literally, I don't. If I say it's a villain, you'll be like, oh, a villain. And if I say it's a hero, you'll be like, oh, a hero's going to come in and save everybody. No, I'm not saying shit. I will say it is the
heroes coming to save the vision away.
Oh my god, Spider-Man, the first Spider-Man movie.
Damn it.
Thank you, Nickelback. But I will say it happens during a commercial because I've said that in the past. So that means we're getting one final commercial, which I have already seen. I have been very tempted to just talk about the footage I've seen, but I gotta stick to my gut. Gotta stick to my morals. I am
Well,
not just.
it is kind of like understandable on the moral code because, like, at least lately for me, I've been noticing like a lot more spoiler territory has been definitely a thing since COVID happened, and I personally hate spoilers. Unless, like, the only exception is if I nor anybody else has the desire to see a movie or see a show, and being like, okay, you can explain it to me. I'm not going to understand the context, but I don't care to see this. Like, like Man of Steel. Like, if I didn't see it, which I did, I wouldn't care to, for spoilers because, like, didn't interest me. But I get like the moral route of being like you don't want to say anything because you don't want to encourage like more leaked shit coming forward and more people seeking it out. And honestly, if people in the comments like want to, it's just like it just takes like some Google searching because nothing on the internet fully goes away.
If one wanted to, they could find out what the scene is. Although, luckily, it seems like a lot of the reviewers and breakdown people are also ignoring the scene. They did not ignore the other leaked scene I saw, which was Pietro saying, "Chill, sis. It's not like your husband is going to die twice." So I knew Evan Peters was coming in.
And
Right.
Neil, if you're going to explain anything more, then to quote Jim Carrey's Robotnik, tell him to stop or I'm looking up his search history.
What? Oh, my
Yeah.
search history. I haven't been looking for the leaked stuff. I'm not gonna spoil it. All I'm saying is like I know of a cameo coming. I will say that I've had theories about this character somehow being involved, and I've intentionally not said them because it would have led to me being like, I know they're in the show. But I think another interesting theory about everything that's going on is what is going to happen with that Westview once the hex goes down. Because did she turn these people into mutants like it seems she might have done with Monica? What is happening?
Well, Monica got that superpower from going into the barrier twice, and there was threats of her molecules being displaced. And
Photons and electromagnetic spectrum,
Uh,
science I talked about from last week.
Wanda saw all the citizens, yes, even the mustache man, in the town prior to her spellcasting, so...
I don't trust that dude with the mustache. I never trusted him since episode 1.
What have you got against mustache people?
I
They're
just don't.
usually the villain.
He keeps
That's
showing.
stereotype shit.
Why do they keep giving him lines? Why do they keep giving him lines? Why do they keep letting that one speak?
I mean, he is pretty funny though.
Oh yeah, no, don't get me wrong, he's hilarious. That's why if he was revealed to be Mephisto, I'd be okay with it. Just have it be some rando.
I'm just imagining Mephisto with that mustache now. That's a
I'd
canon case. Brush mustache.
We also did see the package guy. We saw the package guy in the normal universe, so I think that confirms that maybe he has nothing to do with Agatha. But the biggest question, where the fuck is Quicksilver?
Snipper's gonna snoop.
Oh, wait, that's the thing. I was thinking about it. I'm pretty sure I'm wrong, but she mentioned about being able to control Pietro or Pietro, fake Pietro. Hilarious. And she was basically able to see with like the eyes and ears and stuff. What if she's controlling Pietro when she catches Monica? That I'm pretty sure I'm wrong, but what if? What if?
Well, here's the thing. Everyone was saying that after credit scene was going to be Pietro captures Monica and takes her, to Agatha. That didn't happen this episode. Whatever Pietro did with Monica, they did not go down to talk to Agatha at all. So either A, Quicksilver has his own intentions, or he captured her somewhere else, or I don't know, maybe he's trying to throw her out of the barrier again. Or B, which I think is the most likely, Wanda hitting Pietro with the magic during the Halloween episode snapped him out of Agatha's spell, and now we just have normal-ass Evan Peters Quicksilver hanging out in the MCU. They did confirm that to some degree he's been possessed by Agatha. So I'm hoping it's just Quicksilver is good now and he's going to be in the MCU.
Agatha has mentioned that she played off Wanda's fears and emotions by bringing him back, and she said, and I roughly quote, "Well, the real Pietro's still back in Sokovia, and full of holes."
Again,
On a different continent.
I can't spoil anything about that footage I've seen, but I will say that it references Quicksilver. So because I'm not saying he's in it, I'm not saying he's involved.
Internet, go research Quicksilver, find all the answers you can.
What?
Internet, go research everything you can about Quicksilver. Go, 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 go.
Well, they definitely make
Go on.
the commercial references him, is all I'll say.
Well, Neil, it's too late. Too late. The conspiracy theorists are gonna find out who it is. It's all your fault.
Well, the conspiracy theorists already have seen the footage. It's still out there. You can see it.
I think without encouraging people to continuously support leaks, is that here's my theory of it. Yes, you did bring up that, and it kind of goes back to my theory that we talked about in earlier episodes. This is what I think. I think because they just brought the X-Men into the MCU, like, the Pietro in the MCU is dead. That's no question. Agatha confirmed it of being like, he's, somewhere in Sokovia, riddled with holes from bullets. We get it. That Quicksilver is gone.
You know what's interesting about that, though, Mel? She did mention that she could have revived him.
That's fair, too. But to kind of finish my theory real quick, of going back to what I've said, is being like, I think this particular Pietro, and also why she could possess him with her magic and stuff, is that I think that this Pietro's from a different timeline. So I'm thinking that we're probably, especially Neil did point out that key points that we did not see Pietro just kidnap Monica and bring them, to Agatha and Wanda by the end of the episode, or else they would have done it. So I am leaning towards being like, maybe in some way that it is Pietro, he's just from a different dimension or a different timeline, since we've been talking about pocket dimensions and shit. So I'm thinking that whatever happens, like, he might turn over to the other side, but I think he has a similar thing going on that Vision has with Wanda, of being like, even if he was controlled before, he might actually have free will now, in some degree.
They've said since the beginning that there is going to be something in this show that leads directly into Multiverse of Madness. I was thinking this last week. I don't think I said it, though. I think that is Quicksilver. I think the fact that someone from another dimension turned up in Wanda's thing is going to be why they go to Doctor Strange. I think they're going to try to send him home. And that's going to be part of the plot of Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. That might be why he's in the multiverse at all. He's trying to take Quicksilver home.
Quicksilver far from home?
More like Quicksilver back home.
Yeah.
Quicksilver,
back to the home instead of the future.
But either way, it just kind of confirms not confirms it, but it strengthens my theory, because like Nexus was brought up. We already had that conversation in the last episode and stuff, and it just, the more and more like I'm seeing it, the more and more it's being like, yes, like it would be a perfect setup for Doctor Strange to come in to, I don't know if it would be possible like taking this Pietro back to his universe or not, but we're going to be dealing with a lot of alternate universes or different dimensions. It's confirmed that that's at least going to be the next phase of the MCU.
Gonna get weird, gonna get a little wild. I ain't from around here. I'm from another dimension.
Apart from sorcery, I don't imagine any prior connections between Wanda and Doctor Strange, so...
I mean,
there's like
Strange magic.
The fact that she has chaos magic, Callum, that's enough. Doctor Strange will be showing up to her door any minute now, like, hey, you're a threat to reality. We need to talk.
In that case, I think the team outside the magic field would probably contact someone who would likely dispose of her, and the best person they can think of is Doctor Strange. Boom! Shows up, portal, fight, yeah.
I don't know if to do that either, because Doctor Strange would probably be like, yo, assholes, no. What were you saying, Cher?
No, I was just saying Strange Magic by ELO.
Oh. But I guess a better way to explain it, Callum, like in a technical sense, like imagine like Doctor Strange being Batman and Scarlet Witch being Superman at this point. It's not that he wants to destroy her, it's that he knows she's a threat now, and discovering being like, okay, you have chaos magic, what we gonna do? Kind of similar to like how Batman has told Superman of, hey, I kind of know how you can go. You can go any way, and you are potentially dangerous. And if you ever cross the line, I know how to get rid of you. It's kind of similar to that, but not, if that makes more sense. So that's really where the correlation kind of is with them.
To
and
anyone
also
else,
what Neil said.
Chaos magic is. It was created by this guy named Chthon, and I say God. Well, essentially, you know the planet Earth? Imagine that if you didn't want that there, it wasn't there anymore. That is the height of chaos magic. Wanda being proclaimed the most powerful person in the MCU isn't like to justify the fanboys who are mad that Captain Marvel was. No, it's just true. She could wipe out all life if she wanted to. Like, she don't need 4 Infinity Stones to take out half of reality. She can just do it.
Right, that's why I kind of like to make it easier for Callum to understand it being like, just imagine it being like DC's world, except for without, Superman using magic, just with his, godlike powers instead of being like, if Superman could, he could wipe the floor with the universe, but Doctor Strange would be the, Batman equivalence, but with magic, of being like, hey, you are powerful, you are deadly, what are we going to do here? Because, chaos magic is very deadly magic in the MCU.
Right. Except there's no Doomsday or men screaming Martha.
Yeah.
So proved.
Pretty much. That's why I use that analogy of being like, for those who don't understand the context, being like, let me take it on DC's level, make it and simplify it. It's more complicated than that. And Neil actually put it down on the head of being like, yeah, chaos magic, like, all they just need to do is look at something like Earth and be like, I don't want you there anymore. Snap. It's gone. Being like, Earth what?
There are limitations to it. Like, she couldn't destroy the Earth, but she could definitely, like, move it. Like, she could have thrown that shit to another dimension.
Well, yeah, like, making it disappear does not necessarily mean destroy. Like,
she can get rid of it.
Or she could also, too, like, alter the look of it, being like, I don't want this planet to be round. I'm going to make it a cube.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like Minecraft.
Normally when it comes
much.
to, like, she's an Omega level mutant. And Omega level mutants are essentially, these are the mutants that we have to keep an eye on because they can destroy the planet.
Right, like I think the only like TV adaptation that really drove that kind of power home is X-Men Evolution, for example, where, in that universe, it showed how powerful and how dangerous her potential was, if not kept in check. Hence
I've
why
been
Magneto was a douche.
I've been told Legion is actually a show about another Omega level X-Men. I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen Legion either. I'm trying to do my best to catch up with anything related to Marvel, so that way I can ease my way to DC shows that I haven't seen at all, like Arrow, Flash. But essentially, Doctor Strange is going to play a huge part in it because he is the magic equivalence to Batman, while Scarlet Witch is kind of the magical version of Superman, in the sense of being not saying he's going to kill her, not because Superman doesn't or Batman doesn't either. He's pretty much just keeping her in check, of being so that your powers don't go over the top and her possibly fucking shit up. More so than already in the show.
So this is normally where we'd give our ratings, but this will be a new tradition for our coverage of the Marvel shows, which confirm we're doing Falcon and Winter Soldier at the very least, so be looking out for that. But right before the season finale, I think we should all say one thing we hope we see in the finale. One thing that would make it better. Not like a big long breakdown of how it would make it better, but just be I want this and this is why. Just super quick.
Okay.
At least shares opinion on the. Okay, go.
What? Wait, what?
Do you have anything you'd like to see in the next episode? Or Yo Gabba Gabba, perhaps?
You're still holding me on the Yo Gabba Gabba thing. I know it was my childhood band, but come on.
We must confirm the conspiracy.
Yeah, the Yo Gabba Gabba and how they're all related to the Infinity Stones. And how I use science on how to figure out Monica's powers.
How Haley is going to destroy everything.
Haley, Hans, Hayward, 888. I just seriously hope Hans, Hayward, Haley, whatever, just gets punched in the face. Like in Frozen, just punch him in the face.
So you hope he gets his comeuppance? You hope
I'm sorry. My mom's here. She's like, why are you saying that? Because he's a big meanie. I don't want to say other words that are very inappropriate to say right now.
Oh,
he's a jack.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's such a bastard. Yeah.
There you go.
There you go. He's a fuck waffle, Mom.
We love you, Mom.
They said they love you.
The fact that she dropped the word
you.
bastard.
Oh, she yeah, my mom, she can do it all. You want what other words would you want to say that I don't like saying?
He's full of shit.
Can I have your mom?
Low down bastard.
She's right here.
Oh, the fucking
Two-timing cunt.
Oh, that's a big one.
I love them.
I
This
think
time we feel the dick.
I didn't mean to shock you. Sorry about that.
no, I still think you're sailor. It's all right, man.
I say the C word on
He
this
is dying.
channel. Not a bitch.
But yeah, I just really hope Hayward gets punched in the face. And I don't know. I know last week I was saying, yeah, I got it right. But something tells me Agatha may not be all who she seems to be. And hopefully they take that in the right direction. I don't know how to explain how, but
I kind of see what you're saying. She seems scared of her powers, when she was on the stage.
right. I don't know.
That's
But thank
why
you.
I said I love your mom. She's so
Oh,
rad.
thank you. They say they love you.
Cal, do you have anything you want to see in the next episode?
And hopefully Vision doesn't die. Or Vision, they do something good with Vision. Okay, next.
I hope
Yeah.
we endorse Sherry's mom.
We'll do that anyways.
Okay, the show itself. I think it's going in a generally good direction. I can't say there hasn't been a very bad moment, as we've said so far. So, I guess my only wish is for all the major answers to be answered. If they're going to leave some stuff vague, fine, but I want answers about how she managed to get Vision back to life. I want to see how Agatha got attracted to Westview in the first place, and other questions in regards to the plot. If they're gonna leave other things vague for the viewer's imagination, fine. But I just need some major answers. That's all.
I feel that. Like, I think that's an honest thing to ask for. Like, they presented all these mysteries. They got to solve them. I don't think we're going to get a ton of answers about Quicksilver. I think at best, they're going to say, yeah, I'm from another dimension. And that's going to be pretty much it. We're not going to know which dimension. We're not even going to know if, like, I don't even know if we'll see his powers again.
Gonna get a little weird, gonna get a little wild. I ain't from around here, I'm from another dimension.
I love Star vs. the Forces of Evil.
Except for season 4.
Season 4 kind of sucked. But, I really, I don't know with Quicksilver. Like, I want him to get his own show. I want the man to have his own storylines. Because he's a great character in, like, the fucking TV shows and stuff, so I'd love to see him. But, hey, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. Mel, do you have anything?
I guess, like, because I know what they're going to do. Not all of I don't feel like all of our questions will be answered, or if they were answered, they're going to only touch up on the best that they could, or they already sprinkled it, because I feel like that this is one of the openings to the next phase of the MCU. I guess, like, really for me, if I were to pick what I'm hoping to see, is I think I'll break it down into like 3 things. One, I hope Vision and Wanda stay together. I know that in comic book world that they don't, but I always loved them as a couple. I always thought they were one of the strongest, and especially in the MCU universe instead of the comic book universe. They're like my favorite couple because they're organic, they're more realistic than any other couple we've seen. They have damage, but they go with it together, like, normally instead of tragically, like we've seen, being like, no, I'm not good for you. Like, that shit is done with me. But that's one thing. The other thing is that I don't expect Mephisto to be in a full episode, but it would be nice to see a villain that not many people are familiar with unless they know their comic book lore. Even if it's just an after credit scene, that's all I can ask for, is being like, at least, you set it up. It'd be very disappointing if they didn't even show, like, a glimpse of him. I don't care at this point. Yes, I'm hoping it's not fuckface at all, but
Haley.
Haley, Hans, Hayward, punched him in the face like Anna from Frozen.
No, I'll make it sure. Haley fuckface. That's his name.
Okay.
He's a fucker. But yeah, even if it's like, I'm hoping it's not, and I'm hoping that's a long stretch, but at this point, it's just like, it would just be really disappointing, because they built it up to where even, like, people who don't know the comics at all are looking up who Mephisto is. And they set it up to where it wouldn't make sense if he didn't make any type of appearance at all. So that's the second thing. And the third thing, which I always hope for the MCU, is that they they end this show on a high note, just in general, and that they don't give us like something disappointing. Otherwise, I feel like they're going to go down paths like other franchises have before. Not asking for a whole lot. I've accepted like some things like what Callum said about explaining how Wanda manifests vision. It's just like I think the flashback is the best we're going to get with that. I really do think so. But yeah, those are the only three things that I'm hoping for with the finale, is being like, show Mephisto, don't fuck up the ending, and maybe keep Wanda and Vision together, despite what the comics say. And that's pretty much it.
Hang on a second. I've already mentioned this previously, but I need to bring it up again. And I'm doing this toilet flush, and I'm doing this just so we can avoid potential disappointment. What if it's not Mephisto? What if it's just like a showdown between like Wanda and Agatha? I mean, that's just one scenario, but that's just I mean, anything could happen at this point, but just saying.
Well, I think part of
sorry about the flush. Our toilet was clogged. I just finally got it to flush. But carry on.
Well, it might not be Mephisto. Like, at this point, I think they've kind of justified Agatha enough where I don't mind if it isn't Mephisto, honestly. But Callum, that devil statue, like that fucking Satan thing, is still in the background of that shot in the fucking cave.
Yeah, Agatha has to be serving Mephisto in some way, and we need to explain how she got attracted to Westview. Yeah.
I mean, I think at the very worst, we're gonna get a name drop. Like, someone will say Mephisto, and maybe that won't happen immediately. Maybe that will be like an after credits thing. But oh, by the way, for everyone who's talking about the cameo, there is a theory out there that Paul Bettany, who was talking about this cameo, was actually talking about himself as White Vision. The theory is that when he's like, oh, me and this actor, we have such great chemistry. There's real fireworks when we have scenes together. He might be talking about himself. There might not be any actual cameo. He may have just been teasing himself. That being said, there is at least one other cameo.
Well, it's like I said, like that's why like my expectations with Mephisto are only being like, if we can at least get an after credit scene. And it's only because like, yes, I'm happy with Agatha, even though like actually somebody mentioned it, which kind of confirms like my thoughts, because in the comics she's mostly a neutral character. Like, what I mean by neutral is being like either she stays out of it, or very rarely will she be on the side that she thinks will win, or the upper hand. Otherwise, she's only been like, she's been very neutral. And I think like when somebody mentions that, like in this show she's scared of the power, it's kind of leaning more towards being like she might be the villain right now, or she could go to be neutral again, like how she was in the comics.
I think that's what Neil and I were both saying. Yeah, because I was saying, like, I mean, I was glad I was right about Agatha, but, like, just something, I don't know. And I've been watching videos about her. Maybe she's doing it. It may look bad, but she has other intentions. She's misunderstood. That's what I think.
That's why I said it wasn't a bad, or I didn't hate the fact that they made her into a quote-unquote villain character, but it was interesting because majority of the time she is neutral, and being like, in the only side she ever is on in the comic books is what side she deems the best to be on, and at the end of the day it's like it's her side, but she just chooses whatever side will benefit her, not so much anybody else. But that's why I said it was an interesting choice. But then when you brought that up, I got to thinking, being like, maybe they're gonna have her be evil at first, but then realizing like where her intentions lie, and then maybe at worst her being a neutral character again.
I mean, it could be that. Honestly, I have no idea at this point. I'm just looking at the dude and I'm like, yo, this show is weird, man. And I like it.
But that's why I don't have like a lot of like expectations or a lot of, I guess, demands for the show. But if it doesn't lead up to Mephisto in some caliber, like that's why I was accepting of being like, even if it's just an after credit scene of the final episode, that's good enough for me. But it would just be a total waste of people's investment in time if he's not even mentioned, or at least shown a brief cameo, because it has been all aligning up to that point to where I think that's where they would flop, is if they don't even mention him at all.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I do also think they could pull it off with just Agatha, but I agree. I'd love to see Mephisto. But for me, there's only one thing I truly need in the next episode. There's only one thing I need for the episode to be considered a success. Where was Jimmy Woo? He was not in this episode, and I love this episode. It's a very good episode. Where's Jimmy? I need more Jimmy. Next episode, the intro better be Jimmy Woo goes to meet with the engineer that made that freaking truck from the last episode. It turns out to be a cameo or something by some new Marvel character. And then Jimmy Woo goes in there, guns a-blazing, and saves everyone. Or just have him show up. That's all I need. I love that character so much right now. I guess a serious prediction is... honestly, I'd like to have a moment where someone tells Wanda, you did something bad. Like, someone needs to tell Wanda, this was wrong. And I don't care if that's Darcy or Jimmy or Monica or anybody from the town, but somebody needs to, like, call Wanda out for her bullshit.
I mean, Monica kind of did that in the previous episode, but then she was kind of cut off. But I get what you're trying to say.
I think Monica was trying to connect with her, like have a heart-to-heart. I need someone to say, no, you were the villain. Like, you became the villain for a little bit. You can be better, but you fucked up, Wanda.
No, and I agree with you, but I'm thinking it's going to be like somebody who she already has connection with. Like, I don't think it's going to be like the people in the town per se. I think that's, yes, they are the victims of what she did, but I don't think it's going to be straight up just like a random schmo off the street. And that's not, and that's not bashing on them, because they're victims at the end of the day of her, own selfishness and her own grief. But I feel like it's going to be somebody who at least has like somewhat of a connection. It could even be Agatha. In my personal opinion, it's going to be either Monica, Vision, shit, even Hayward, fuckface can say it to her. Like, it's somebody who's already hit a somewhat connection, or at least knew her before the hex happened.
I think it should be Vision or one of the kids. Like, I think either Vision should be like, my dear, I love you, but look at what you did. And this was terrible. You need to you need to make up for this somehow. Or alternatively, maybe one of the kids is like, Mom, is it okay to do stuff like this? Like, I just want if Vision ends up surviving and Wanda gets everything she wants, I think someone has to vividly say, but what was done here was wrong. Because if not, you're sending the message of, I controlled an entire reality and that's how I got what I wanted back.
Right. It would definitely be like an off-putting thing, especially since a lot of kids do watch the MCU. Sometimes it's questionable for me if they should, but they're not my kids, so.
I learned to take out an entire town and to solve my problems.
I'd let my kids watch it.
I think really the only one I would not let my kids see, well, it wasn't MCU officially until this year, I think, or last year, but wouldn't let my kids watch Deadpool. Would not. I think that's the only. No, I would not let them watch Logan either. But that's besides the point. Being sidetracked. But I do think, especially like
Maybe I'm
the
a bad
MCU,
parent. I think I would.
right? But since knowing that there are kids who do watch that, well, I also come from a line of parents that made me, that had me watch rated R movies as young as like 4, so I shouldn't have room to talk either. But I think especially since like, a lot of kids do watch shows and it's kind of like going back to what we were talking about with like, Wanda's thing with like, sitcoms and stuff is that people do develop attachments to these shows and especially for those like me, especially who didn't have like parents or role models to rely on. I had shows and animes and movies to help me shape my form. And so I think it would be a really poor decision if they decide just to let that go and not let her know of being like, hey, what you did was fucked up. It is not okay. It is not right. It would just send like a very negative message of being like, yeah, you can fuck shit up and still get what you want. Who fucking cares?
Remember, kids, if you manipulate people and control their ways of lives, eventually your dead loved ones will come back to life. That's the message.
Manipulation.
Right?
All right, let's go into ratings. Mel, do you want to go first?
Yes, so this by far, I think this was my favorite episode.
Yep.
Because not only did it make me emotional and actually like hit me in a place, but also too a lot more opened up with this world and made every other episode like align and make, if you didn't make sense of it before, this episode helps you with making it have a whole lot of sense now. Even though I'd question like how any of the other episodes didn't help you before, but I digress on that. So I will actually give this a 9.5 out of 10.
Woo!
Mm.
I was expecting a 9, but I didn't expect a 9.5.
When it hits me that hard on a personal level, it gets that. It doesn't get a 10 because it also was kind of traumatic, but that's pretty much it. So 9.5.
And I guess we can go into my rating now. This episode hit me hard too, to the point where after it, I just sort of sat there for a minute and I was like, whoa. I rewatched it, and the moments that hit me hard still hit me really hard, to the point where like I got very choked up while watching this episode a lot. And what I've always said is the like way you know something is good is that it makes you feel things. I think this episode, just on its own merits, is one of the best things the MCU has ever created. I think it is the best episode of WandaVision, and I think it is my first for this series 10 out of 10.
Woo!
I knew this was coming. I knew it was going to get one. I didn't think it would be this episode. I thought it would be the Halloween episode. But by far, this episode blew me away. It gave me a million things I didn't even know I wanted. And I still think Vision is my second favorite Avenger, but if I'm going in order, Hawkeye, Vision, Wanda. This character has elevated for me because of this episode, and I adore it. I love it so much, and I'm going to talk about it for forever. So, yeah, Cal, what's your rating?
My mind's just gone back to Gravity Falls, and I would compare this episode to A Tale of Two Stands. This is the big revelation episode, the revelation behind everything. Yeah. You find out how everything happened, all the pieces come together, and it's all making sense. And it's a lot of high stakes a drama more than it is about any kind of action, or it's kind of a bummer, just like Tale of Two Stands, in a sense. And I have to agree with all of you. This is by far the best episode, because Even if you weren't familiar with the Marvel films, all the other episodes prior to this episode was very well built up, and certain payoffs laid off, like, oh, there's all the sitcoms that were mentioned. Oh, that's the red flashing light in the first commercial. Oh, this is what they had to experience. Oh, this was her family, her time she got to know Vision more personally, and so much more. Is it perfect?
You nailed it, Cal. It really had a little bit of everything. You're so right.
Right.
In terms of rating, I don't know if I could exactly give this a 10 because some details are mildly confusing, but again, that could be part of the mystery. But for the time being, I'm going to have to give this a solid 9 out of 10 myself.
All right, pretty high ratings. Now Cher's going to come in with a 1 out of 10. And
Better not. We'll fight in the street.
Oh, I know martial arts. I'm a 3rd-degree black belt in Taekwondo.
I never
Cat
said
fight,
that I would
cat
win.
fight, cat fight.
I just said we take it to the streets. I never said anything about winning. I
Cher,
know when
what-
my battles are lost.
What's your rating, Cher?
Oh, what was Callum's rating? I was trying to. My
Cal-
dad kept bothering
so-
me.
So, in order, Mel gave it a 9.5, I gave it a 10, Cal gave it a 9.
Oh, yeah. I'm actually in my dad's man cave room right now. Actually, I have a little of a Marvel poster
As I
in
see.
here.
Nice.
Yeah, and Scarlet's and Hawkeye and Scarlet Witch are right next to each other.
They're besties. He really should have been in the show.
But anyways, as you guys were saying, even though I was moving around, this episode was definitely the best episode. Very emotional. Made me appreciate all the loved ones that I have and friends, old and new.
Count your blessings, yeah.
Yeah. It's just, oh my gosh, what Wanda went through, the trauma that she went through is very heartbreaking. And it kind of made me realize that I need to open up my emotions a little bit more, but not be too emotional at the same time. And my dog's barking outside. But I think this episode is just amazing. It's wonderful, and I need to go get my calculator. There we go. Yeah, I think I'm gonna give it a 9 as well. It's just it was beautiful. It was amazing. It didn't make me cry. If it made me cry, I would have put it a 10.
It didn't make me cry, but it hurt me. Like, it stuck with me. All right, so a 9 and a 9. That's 18.
37.5. That's the highest score we did. It was 37.5.
And out of 40, that means, like, there is only 2.5% of error. Something I plan to do is, like, for the next episode, I'll have to do this during the week break we have. During the next episode, I'm going to read all of our scores that we said by ourselves. Like, I'm going to add all those up. And I'm also going to, like, add up all of the scores together to see what we gave the series as a whole. Like, I'm going to add up and combine them.
And I'll emphasize the only reason I didn't give this a 10, and this is in what you said, Sherry, too, because I'm really bad about expressing my emotions. Like, sometimes, like, people give me crap of being like, how do you stay so, like, logical, or why don't you, like, get sad or angry, and being like, I do, I just don't do it in front of people. But the only reason I didn't give it a 10 was, you know, Wanda and I went through different shit. And also fiction versus reality, but it triggered me a bit because, like, I have been through really terrible shit within my life, so that's the only reason I didn't give it a 10.
I feel that. I think the reason like I was like able to give it a 10 is because in my personal rating scale, 10 does not mean perfect. 10 just means that this is great, an amazing example of like what came before, and I'm going to like stick with this and hold on to this. It doesn't mean it was perfect because let's be honest, nothing's perfect. But
Nobody's perfect.
I gotta work it.
Again and again till I get it right.
That's a Hannah Montana joke, people.
Best of both worlds.
But
I'm sorry, Cal. First you'll get Abba Gabba, and now Hannah Montana.
I lost my
No, I was concerned about Mel, actually. I thought she was going to say something.
She was
Oh
gonna.
no, like I pretty much like, said what I need to say. Like, some people know in the chat of some of the stuff I've been through, some people in the chat don't. And that's a story for another day. But it's just like it was pretty traumatic because even though like Wanda and I went through, of course, not only different things, but hers is fictional. She's not a real person, but it also showed it being like, yeah, like these shows can be a coping mechanism in a way if you do it proper, but it was also very traumatic because it's just like, yeah, I went through hell after hell, like when Cher was talking about like her experience with, the deaths of her loved ones, like that was with me, except for it happened like, years before, being like, it first started off with like people who I knew but didn't know. So it wasn't like as traumatic, but the more it got, the more it was like, oh, now people that I'm knowing are going and thinking of like the what ifs or what could you do to prevent it. And that's the only thing that I would advise people on is being like, you can't be stuck on the what ifs. Like, yes, like grieve at your own pace, but at the end of the day, if you think about what you could have done, it will just make you stuck.
Mel, if you don't mind me asking, has WandaVision helped you learn anything in regards to what you've been through?
It kind of has, but at the same time, like it's it's kind of complicated, I guess. Like it definitely, like I think it's more of a positive way of looking at grief because like I said, like society has this, stereotypical way of you dealing with grief, right? Like they expect you to be sad for maybe at worst like a few weeks and then pull yourself up by the bootstraps and move on, just go back to how things were, being like, oh, death happens. But what people don't actually understand is being like, you lost somebody or you lost something that was in your life, and the next second they're gone. Like the phone conversations are gone, or seeing them like every day is gone. And I hate that stigmata that's in society of being like, oh, I'm sorry for your loss, but it'll be fine. It happens. It doesn't make it better.
Yeah, there's a major difference between sympathetic and empathetic. I think people think the sympathetic is like, oh, it'll be fine, you'll be totally fine. Empathetic is like the complete opposite. You understand, you let them take their own time. When they feel ready, then they'll be ready. Right. Don't force and push everyone to get better so they can just move on. That's not how it works. People have it and go into their own pace.
Right, and that's like, I think if anybody were to take this like in the group as a lesson, or at least for me, is like, grief isn't as simply as, hey, you're allowed to be sad for a minute, but then move on, because it's just like death itself is, it doesn't matter what you believe in religiously or on a moral standing or whatever, death is inevitable. It's, something that we don't talk about in society because I feel like it's uncomfortable. to bring up, like, yes, they can touch on it in fiction, but where fiction becomes skewed and doesn't help with it is that oh, they're just fictional characters. Like, even if you're impacted by it, it kind of, people look at death as like not how it is, being like it's inevitable. It doesn't matter if you believe like if there's a heaven or a hell, or if there's reincarnation or not, or if you just die and you're buried in the ground. But when you face it, like losing a loved one, that's when it actually hits you. And that's why I don't like the stigmata that society has of being like, oh, you're allowed to be sad, but then move on from it. Being like, no, that was someone or something that you cared about so deeply, and they're gone. And it also too makes you face reality, more so being like one day it's going to happen to somebody else or it's going to happen to me. But it's, you learn to live with it. You don't expect somebody to move on and take your time with grieving. And even with empathy, it can be skewed too, of being like they can be empathetic, but still expect you to do things their way or what society has taught us to deal with it. And that shouldn't be, excuse me, and that shouldn't be the case at all. Of being like, no, you should let people deal with their grief how they want to deal with it, as long as it's not harmful. Like one of the things I wished for in the beginning of my, grief before I became homeless and stuff, and this was right before I started talking to like Neil and Callum and stuff, was I wish some people would have pulled me back from certain habits. Luckily, like those habits went as quick as they came, but like I had bad coping mechanisms, and I wish somebody was just like, hey, I'm fine with you grieving, just don't do this. Like the worst I got was I was drinking a bit more during that time. But I wish somebody was there to be like, hey, we understand that you're in this mindset, just try not to drink, instead do something else, or whatever else you need, help. And luckily it did not form into a worse habit that it could have been. Like yeah, if I was still in that mindset, who knows where I would be. And I guess that's where like, the homeless thing was a benefit, was because just like, well, I'm not drinking anymore, and I'm kind of went back to form on that, and I barely touch a drink now, being like, yeah, I just was heavy with it. But it's not pushing people to be better, and people need to stop doing that, of being like, hey, it's not as simple as like, oh, just be happy, or oh, just be fine. It's just like, no, understand that they had a loss, and that each loss is different. Like pain is pain. It doesn't matter if like somebody's has a broken arm, or someone's in a full body cast. The pain is still real, no matter if you look at it as like a minor thing or not. The pain with them is there. Like, yeah, Shara had to watch somebody that she loved, dying in front of her, and I found somebody literally dead in my case. And even if like somebody else that we knew did not experience that, that doesn't mean we take away their pain because we saw more of it. And I think that that's where this show like is trying to say, is being like, grief is fine, and not only should you not rush people into feeling how they feel, being like this could be a lifelong thing that they have to like live with. But also at the same time, it's like, don't turn, don't turn bad about it either. Like for the fact of being like, yeah, I drank like a little bit more than my norm. It wasn't like, in comparison to like alcoholics, like I was still not an alcoholic by any means of the definition, being like, oh, it was like maybe 2 shots extra than how I used to drink before. But it was still a problem of being like, yeah, just I guess like what it taught me is being like, just to reach out more, and if I need help or if I need people to respect my decisions, but also at the same time not cave into like the darkness, I guess. And
if I'm to say anything positive about this, do grieve, the fact that people do get sad, just I think even Vision brought this up at the show, is that it shows a lingering love still remains, because we wouldn't be so sad if we loved them in the first place. It's we have this capacity to love so many other people, and there's some of a beauty in that, and that it's okay to be sad because that just shows how much you love them and how much you cared and how much you were willing to maybe even but a sentiment to how much we can connect with each other, and like this show connected with you in a sense, and how Wanda and Vision connected with each other despite their troubles. So there's a positive side to it. Just don't take it out on others. Just deal with it in a healthy way, because it's okay to be sad. Don't let society pressure you into being happy. That's not the way to go. Stuff society. I mean, if you're gonna be sad, do it. Just be sad. Cry a river. It's okay for men to cry. I'm not afraid to be sad. I'm not afraid to be angry. It's just you gotta get an emotion out. Get it out. Don't bottle it up. Otherwise, that's just gonna make things far worse, as we clearly saw in WandaVision. So it's important that these issues are addressed. Yes.
Right, like that's why I said that I'm glad that this show is actually, or at least how I portrayed it, is that it's showing that the way that society does treat death and expects everybody else to brush it off is not a good thing, because like, yes, like some people can, preoccupy themselves and try to be busy, but that doesn't like get rid of the pain. The pain will always be there. They're just bottling it up in their own way. But that's also too, like, yeah, like what you said, it showed what happens when you just tell somebody being like, oh, I'm sorry for your loss, but, just truck on and be fine. Look at the consequences that caused. Was if it wasn't for that, or at least having, somebody, just deal with, grief their own way, like the scene where, she wants to recover Vision's body to have a burial, and she was even denied that, hit home for me, because just like, oh, because like this or that, you have no rights to certain things. And I think that, the way society does treat death is a very toxic one. And also too, it does diminish like mental health in that sense. And it doesn't allow people to be able to feel, because we're programmed to being like, oh yes, be sad for a little bit, like do the funeral, do that, but once they're dead, don't talk about it anymore, just move on with your day. And it's not right. It isn't. Like, that's how I lost a lot of, friendships, was they wanted me just to go back to the happy, smiling, as you guys know me, Mel, but, majority people know me as Millie in my, or used to in my personal life. And it also shows being like how kind of selfish people can be, of the sense of being like, oh, we don't want you to be sad anymore. And even if they're not doing it intentionally, it's just like you're not allowing people to grieve, and you're not allowing them to feel. You just want them to like bounce back and be the person that you knew, and it's selfish and it's manipulative.
Yes, as a nursing student, I'm learning about how to take care of patients and let them grieve when they're ready, and don't give them any false reassurance that everything's going to be okay, because it's not going to be okay. And they're going to have to figure out how they're going to grieve, And yeah, this episode, I think we can all agree, was very emotional and very relatable, and that there is a such thing as unconditional love. I think that's pretty much what sums up the entire episode, at least in my opinion.
Entire series, even.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to view this show overall. I think that it shows that, like, essentially, like, giving into grief isn't the right answer, but neither is ignoring it. I think that's kind of the big message of this episode. That's why it's so important to me that someone needs to tell Wanda, the fact that, like, she was actively controlling people's minds and stuff was wrong, because, if not, it's like, I went to the deepest, darkest parts of my mind and I got everything I ever wanted from them.
Right. It's like I said, like, even though, yes, I wasn't like an alcoholic or anything during like earlier on with, my significant other passing away, but it was still like, it was more than what I normally do. Like, on average, even today, it's like, if I want a drink, it's like once in a blue moon type of thing, but I knew that it wasn't like out of control, but I knew it was getting to the point of being like, if I stuck on that for maybe a bit longer, like, it might have turned out bad. But the worst part was with being like, I didn't have anybody like like helping out or directing me from the darkness, and that's why, like, yeah, I do agree that somebody needs to tell Wanda, being like, you can grieve as long as you want. You can grieve for the rest of your life, or you can, grieve for like a year, or you can grieve for like, however long that you feel comfortable. However, what you're doing is how you're going about it is not okay. And I think that's an important message too. Like, yeah, it does show being like, yes, don't push it on people of, oh, just move on, like, after the funerals, after, the posts on Facebook in the short term, but also too, don't let it consume you to the point, like, yes, the trauma is going to be there, like I said, because, like, I witnessed a horrible thing occur. I actually can't watch certain things. Like, I can still watch Hocus Pocus, but I can't watch the scene where they're getting executed because it's triggering. That's like half of my movie list, is being like any subject matter that involves nooses or hangings or extension cords is extremely triggering. And that will always be there because grief does give you trauma depending on the severity. But it's like I said, pain is pain. It doesn't matter, like, how the damage is. It still hurts people, but at the same time, it also should teach a lesson of being like, hey, if you need anything, whether it's like, and I'm trying to work better on that because it's been a long, agonizing road because I have been doing it by myself mostly, but I've been trying to be better at being like, even if it's like just talking to somebody, or if I need some financial aid, or if I just need like a distraction, or or just anything really to reach out and help, that's what I've been working on. And I think Wanda needs to learn the lesson, and somebody telling her, being like, you're not going about this the right way. We're not telling you not to grieve. You just can't do it this way.
Mel, I really do love hearing you talk, but it's getting late for me. And you have a habit of going on and on. I'm sorry, Mel. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry.
It was all interesting.
It was beautiful, though.
Aw, thank you guys. I don't mean to have that habit.
That's okay. If you got something good to say, you gotta say it. But we do have to end this episode because it is super fucking late.
Yes.
So,
Yes, I was actually looking at the time, being like, oh shit, I should wrap this up.
So how do we end this? How do we end this? I mean, I still have this necklace here.
We'll keep on the necklace, but real fast, just real quick. What were the ratings again? Because when I go through and write them all down, I'm going to be looking at the ends of the episodes. So
9.5, 10.
Oh,
Yeah,
I give it a 9.
9.5 and a 10.
And 2 9s.
So that's 30.
37.5.
Yeah. Okay. I just needed it said for now. When I go through, I can find it easier. But yeah, no, we can end the episode now. By the way, that necklace, you should just keep it on at all times.
Oh.
And if you don't, you'll probably explode.
And with that, we'll end the episode.